Who am I here with today?
I'm Eamon Mckenna, head men's and women's cross country coach here at UWO Oshkosh. This is my 14th year.
I'm Cullen. I'm a senior on the cross country track and field team.
I'm Proteau, senior from UWO Oshkosh.
I'm Trent Chadwick from UWO Oshkosh. I went for the cross country team here.
What was going through your mind on Saturday? What was the game plan? You know, what was your goal going into Saturday?
Yeah, so obviously throughout the year, I had kind of figured out my whole front WIAC group. So the goal was basically outside of lacrosse, try to be the top WIAC guy. And that would help us both team-wise, as well as I knew if I performed like that, I was going to individually qualify.
I think my goal for that race was just to maximize any potential I could. Going in, I think the key word that I thought about when it came to this race was margin.
Knew we had quite a few guys have a good summer, and I did think we had the bodies to, be in the top half of the conference again on the right side, so or on the right day. So that was kind of my hope as we were progressing through the season, that we would kind of recapture, some of the success with these upperclassmen that we had in the past. So
My mindset was kind of just go out and replicate conference again, because I've just been stacking up good races.
We wanted to go as a team, unfortunately it just didn't pan out that way. I know my big goal was to get in Olaf's face, was get into Point's face, and I'd like to think I did my job that day.
What was your motivation these
My-
last couple weeks?
Yeah. My biggest motivation was the team, because we obviously wanted to go as a team. And I wasn't expected to be even a top 5 guy this year. And I was able to throw myself into being the top 3. And in some races I was the second guy, so I was able to feed off of that and use that during races, especially on Saturday. I was thinking when I started to hurt real early in that race because I cramped up. But I was just thinking about the guys. I'm like, I'm doing this for something bigger than myself.
Obviously, my faith is my biggest motivation. Just being able to perform for something greater than myself. That's the most important one. As Matthew 19:26 says, with God, all things are possible. And that has really been my motto throughout the season. I wear a bracelet with it every race, every workout. And it just allows me to keep my mind centralized and motivated on why I am a runner. Why I have this talent and this gift to be able to perform. And then give these performances up to the glory of the Lord. I think that's really the main motivation behind my running.
So having qualified your sophomore year for the national meet and having missed last year, what were things that you were thinking about, or what did you change or go back to in like your day-to-day routine that helped you qualify this year again?
Yeah, I think I definitely, after last year, refigured out who I wanted to be as a runner and who I wanted to be as a person. So that allowed me to grow super strong in my faith. And I truly believe that that's a huge aspect to why I'm as good of a runner as I am now. Just kind of taking the weight of my performances off of myself and knowing that my identity is still through Christ versus just my performance. So that was huge for me. And then going along with that, throughout the summer, like I mentioned before, my mileage, I was hitting triple digits, which I'd never done before in the past. I was really focusing on fueling properly, sleeping properly, like taking care of making the right decisions on weekends, taking care of my body. And I think all of that just added up to be at this next level now, which I knew I was good enough to be at, and now it's finally come to fruition.
Honestly, I think I kind of just went back to basics, and some of that goes back to even high school, like eating bagels instead of eating a submarine sandwich from, Subway or whatever, Jimmy John's. Yeah, I mean, junior year, that was, I guess what sucks is like sophomore year, qualified for cross nationals, and that was awesome, great experience with Cameron and the coaches. And indoor, like halfway through, it just started to get ugly, and for a while I was just in a big spot of limbo, and that was hard to navigate because I had what I thought was a very successful sophomore season. And I knew by the time April and May came back, though, it was like I knew I wanted it again.
Being a part of a family that is big in sports, your twin Brock is a football player over at Stevens Point, and your 3 older siblings, they were all runners. Your brother Cody, an All-American here at UWO Oshkosh. Your sister, multiple national meet qualifier in both cross country and on the track. and then your brother Casey, multiple national qualifier again. Do you think that them being national qualifiers and having been to those meets and having experienced those memories, was that something that pushed you a little bit more on Saturday?
Yeah, so like I said, I talked to my brother before the race, and him being an All-American definitely was cool to be able to pick his brain and be able to get some insight on what his mind was going through during races. And ultimately, all of my siblings being college athletes definitely pushed me into even choosing this route of going to college. But I didn't want to be the odd one out going to a national meet, so it definitely pushed me. And it's been awesome to have the support system I've had. Because like after knowing I made it, I look at my phone and I have 20 texts from family and friends, and it's just awesome being in the runner's world and actually having that support system that I'm blessed to have. Because some people aren't fortunate enough to have a great support system like that.
Let's focus on Paul, Cam, and Trent. What were some of the characteristics that they showed throughout the year that you think helped them get to the point that they're at?
In Cameron's sake, once he kind of got his fueling corrected after the issues he had last year in terms of being run down and fading late in races, and realizing that he probably was just, always under-fueled, he really turned into an animal in terms of his mileage he was doing over the summer, and you could just tell there was a different intensity. In Paul's case, Paul is coming back from a year in which, he was just dealing with some mental health issues, took some time away from the team, and I didn't know what to expect. With Paul's talent, being a former national qualifier, you always know that he has the potential to come in and really help your team. But after last year being, so disappointing, for him, and really feeling like taking a step backwards. But I don't think he really got the hunger back until October. And something clicked. I think part of it was him just accepting the challenge and trying to return to the Paul that battled workouts and pushed the pace more often. In Trent's case, he had a pretty stagnant track season as well as a junior. Motivation didn't look as high as it had been at earlier points in his career. And even this summer, I think he chilled out a little bit in terms of mileage and aggressiveness. But you could tell at camp that the first workouts of the year, you could tell he was going to run with our top guys. But I think the hidden effect of his willingness to push himself every workout day with the top group in a helpful way, well, he got a cheat code out of that, which was he just got himself into better shape than he's ever been in his life. He raced like he belonged at regionals. So I think 3 different routes, for those guys. But I think the commonality that they all displayed was a recognition that, 1, this is my last go round. This is my last shot. And 2, any success I've had in the past has not been by accident. It's been with a purposeful plan and competitive nature on almost a daily basis.
Where do you find yourself
Yeah.
on Saturday in the race?
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest race of my career, but I feel at the same time I have the sense of peace, and I know what I need to get done. I know I want to be an All-American. That's going to be the goal. I'm going in as an All-American or nothing else matters. I'm going to come with the same mindset that 41st, one away from American, is the same as 141st. It's top 40 or nothing. And throughout my races throughout the season, I know I'm good enough to do that. I've been, as obviously the polls have shown, I'm ranked 14th in something, 22nd in another thing. So I've been consistently in that talk, and now it's just time to go out and get it done.
I think I have the right to think about, what could happen. Trent, I think is also in the same boat as I am. But no, I think it's a cool opportunity. It's awesome that, we have 3 people representing that. I don't think that's happened. Maybe in school history. I know in recent years it's unlikely that in recent years that it likely didn't happen. But no, it's a cool opportunity. I think it's going to be an awesome experience.
my goal is like, if I'm top 80, I'd be like stoked about that, because I'm not far back from that then. But I'd love to go out and do an All-American performance, but we'll have to find out if that's even in the cards.
I think all three of those guys are in the best shape of their life and feeling healthy right now. The tricky part always is when your team doesn't qualify. Like, all three of these guys, so much of what was motivating them during the year was like, how good can our team be? How good can our team be? How can I help us push to the next level? And just making sure you're managing that during Nationals week when your team isn't there, of like, still the same thing. One, you're still representing our team, you know, and two, like, there are some individual accolades that we can chase. To get specific with it, you know, like Cameron's rightful dream all career has been, can I be an All-American? I think he's put himself in position where that's realistic to do this weekend. You know, I remind those guys that in any given year, there's probably 75 guys in the race that think they can be All-American, and there's only 40 spots, right? So you have to be one of the guys who executes well, you have to be one of the guys who has a good day, and then you have to be one of the guys who really trusts himself to go to the well late in the race. But realistically, Cameron's a guy who can do that any given day. Paul, you know, 2 years ago, if you had asked me who's going to be the most likely All-American out of the group, I would have said Paul. Obviously, last year was a big hiccup for him, and he hasn't been as consistent over the 2 years as someone like Cameron, but he was within 12 seconds of him on Saturday, and I think he's in a spot now where I think Paul's one of those 75 guys that think they have a shot, and now he gets to go and try, you know, and see what happens. And for Trent, you know, naturally Trent will be facing kind of the human instinct to think that Nationals is just gravy, you know, like, I made it, like, that was the big thing, and to a large degree it is. But to really put a feather in your cap of your career, you do want to go out and make that meet one of your best, you know. So I would love to see Trent. I think Trent can be in the top 100 on the right day. I will be very happy if Trent's in the top 150. I still think that'll be a very strong performance. And if he's not, that means he probably, the moment was, it's going to be the craziest race he's ever been in, right? So if he doesn't do it in his first chance that he gets, it's not surprising, and it's pretty typical for guys not to figure out the national field in their first race ever. But hopefully as a senior, he can kind of piece it together and have a, you know, be somewhere on the better side of those goals and expectations, even though he doesn't have the experience that Cameron and Paul have, you know, from 2 years ago. So.
All right, Trent. Well, thank you for your time, and I'll be wishing you good luck on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see those guys get after it. It's, you know, really a gift and a blessing that they get to share in this together, you know, and kind of go out, you know, after all, coming in as recruits and freshmen the same year, you know, 3+ years ago, to now get to celebrate their last race together will be a treat, and hopefully we can bring home some hardware and bring home some, you know, feelings that those guys ended their careers on a huge performance. So I'm excited to share those moments.